So we got new news on the Samsung Z Fold 7 and what to expect as far as rumors go. We're going to talk about that compared to the modern day foldables. Let's go. So for starters, we all know that the Z Fold 6 is a 6.3-inch external screen and a 7.6-inch internal screen, which has been the same story for a few years now. And we've got the standard Samsung 50 megapixel main, 10 megapixel times zoom, and 12 megapixel ultra wide. And it's been that way for a few years. And the biggest thing I think that's been holding back a lot of people, especially myself, in enjoying this phone is the external screen being so narrow, especially when you compare it to some modern day phones like the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, or even now what we're getting with the new Oppo Find N5. And even the older one, the OnePlus Open, everything was wider. So now Samsung has finally given up their hold on the narrow screen, and now they're finally going to go a little bit wider. But they are really going crazy now. We don't know if they're going to come out with two forms of this or just one, but as far as we know right now, the Z Fold 7 is going to be a 6.5-inch screen on the cover, which is larger than the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and it's going to be just a little bit smaller than the Oppo Find N5, which is 6.6 inches. Now these sizes do kind of vary in how they went about the design. For example, this right here on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold is a 6.3 inch versus a 6.3 inch. And you can see that phones are nearly as tall as each other, but because the Z Fold has a smaller bezel, gives it a little more height, and they count their screen size by diagonal. The Z Fold is going to be a little taller than all these other phones, which makes it most likely appear a little more narrow, but it is going to be a much wider screen. And then the internal screen is actually going to be 8.2 inches, which will be the largest foldable out there to date, because the Oppo Find N5 is just a 8.1 inch, and I say just a, that's pretty big, 8.13 I believe exactly. So Samsung is really going big. I guess they figure go big or go home, because they've been smaller than everybody else for so long. We'll have to see how that works out and how that feels in the hand. Now the other thing that's going to change on the Z Fold 7 is the external camera. Their main is going to be a 200 megapixel camera, which is actually, yes, that's higher resolution than all the others, but I want to see the other specs because that may not equal better photos. And I've seen that over and over again using my S25 Ultra and the 200 megapixel camera against the other top leaders like the Pixel 9 Pro or even the iPhone. All the 200 megapixel does is give you more zooming room when you zoom, but the quality really isn't that much better because they all bend those pixels down to 12 megapixels, except for the iPhone, which brings it down to 24. I can tell you this from personal experience, if you try to shoot at 200 megapixels and save that file, you're looking at a 50 plus megapixel image, which is very hard to download, transfer, and utilize in a photo editor unless you have a really fast machine. What I would have preferred then to do is change the other two cameras to a 50 megapixel. Now the other cameras on the Z Fold 7 is going to be the same. I think I said them backwards earlier, but it's going to have a 12 megapixel zoom lens and a 10 megapixel ultra wide. And those are pretty pitiful, especially compared to all other foldables these days. And the last thing we really know about the rumors is the battery size is going to be the same, 4,400 milliamps. I don't know how in the world you make a larger phone with a larger screen that's going to be more demanding on the battery and keep the battery the same at 4,400 milliamps. Unless they're putting all their chips in that Snapdragon 8 Elite chip to make up the difference on power consumption. I just personally think that Samsung may be overcompensating because they've been behind so long in size, but we'll find out once that comes out. Because we know a lot of people, even myself, love the software on the Samsung better than all the others. If they would just catch up with the other foldables on the market, they just may regain my loyalty and I may carry the phone around as my daily driver. So what do you think? What changes would make you upgrade to the Z Fold 7 or change to the Z Fold 7 from any other device? If you want to see the other devices it's going to compete with, check out this video here. Until next time, God bless.